but not a lot of people would recognize this. Does anybody know what we're looking at?
An actual, it's called something, but it's the actual size that you unfold.
He's got it. This is a Dymaxion projection made by Buckminster Fuller. This is the only way to actually look at the planet without breaking up the landmasses or distorting the proportion of the landmasses. So if you look at, you might not recognize actually Greenland because it's like 8 pixels. But Greenland usually you would see about the same size as South America. And it's because of the way we look at the globe. It's just inherently distorted. So we knew from the beginning with ecosystems that like this is the end game or the beginning, the place to start. It's the planet. It's what's gonna keep us here and keep everything moving. And we had to look from that perspective. So I just really like to give Buckminster Fuller some props. Yeah, this thinking isn't really new thinking. He wrote this book called 9 Chains to the Moon in 1938 to start the ball rolling on getting that perspective going. What 9 Chains to the Moon is that if everyone stood head to toe on top of each other, we would make 9 links from the planet to the moon, and that was in 1938. So you can see that like there's a lot of us. There's a big impact from what we're doing, and there's also a lot of power here that if we put it in the right place and move in the right direction, we can make really amazing things happen. So to give you a little bit of like, well, this is me. This is where I came from, Sycamore, Illinois. There's about 10,000 people in Sycamore, Illinois, and just in terms of like footprint on the planet, there's about 4 square miles of the town I grew up in. And it's green and it's nice, but there's a lot of infrastructure and there's a lot of impact. So then this is actually Chicago. This is the Sears Tower. Oh, I don't know why, but the Sears Tower didn't show up. The Sears Tower is about 1 city block, and it also has a daily population of 10,000 people. So I just want to point out, like, cities are really interesting. They're a really interesting solution set and problem set. You can just think about footprint. Putting my whole town in a square block is pretty interesting how it changes our impact on the planet. But of course, cities have their own issues, which Marnie will share some solutions for that. So one last perspective piece. This is Central Park. You might not recognize it if you're used to living in New York City. We spent about $250 million in today's money to make Central Park on what was an arid, dry plain at the top of Manhattan. In the meantime, we spent billions of dollars developing New York City and essentially taking it, so you can see here, like all of what was green, beautiful, fertile land and making a desert. So, this wasn't like our intention. The people who settled in New York City weren't like, hey, this place is beautiful, let's make a desert. They were actually saying, just saying like this is a great place to be, like let's thrive here as a society. And so the point of making of this is just like we have to think about what is our impact as a society. It goes beyond our individual actions or individual means. Basically we started with that, with ecosystems, and we said if the planet is to scale and we have to figure out how to make furniture that works for the planet, what are we going to do? So we made a really simple framework that took all of that into consideration. So this is like our life cycle thinking. I'm just going to kind of fly through this now. So basically we said, what do we start with? We're going to use the healthiest materials. Everything's either going to be like organic or natural or biodegradable, or if we can't do that, we'll at least make it recyclable. So, even if our waste systems aren't around, most of our furniture will go back to the planet. We looked at where we're going to produce it and how we're going to distribute it. So we're working on a regional production model. So we're actually supporting the communities that are buying the furniture by employing people in those communities. We looked at all the efficiencies we could add with flat pack shipping. We put in tool-free assembly because we didn't want it to be a nightmare like IKEA where you're so happy you got this ultra cheap, apartment essentially. But then it's like the rest of your life to figure out how to put it together. And we even threw in a take-back program, which is pretty risky because we don't know what that's going to look like as we grow. And so we're just working with that right now. Like, what does that look like right now on a smaller scale? And so what came from all all that thinking was our Alpha collection. You know, I don't think it really looks like furniture that we're used to, which was kind of interesting. It felt like there was new thinking. But this is the hardware connector we made so that when you get the pieces, the hardware is attached and you just snap it together. It was one of our first big innovations, really. Everything else we were doing was just like a good way to think about what to do. You know, we made all mechanical connections. You can disassemble things for packing it or shipping it. It's also great because if a part breaks, you can replace a part, and it's like real. The whole thing actually, even assembling the hardware on there, you just use one tool. So, what's my time? I have 2 minutes. This is our Bomba chair. Bomba was like the ultimate material efficiency we could do with that connector. We get 2 chairs out of a single sheet of bamboo plywood, and we used all automated manufacturing. So let's keep going. Tandem 1 was a system that was all about options. It was about being able to do large-scale seating, getting added efficiencies. Like every time you add a chair, you save a side. So you have 25% less parts, 25% less cost. We gave you a lot of pieces to get fun, like Legos. Just like make whatever you want out of it. Really quick to put together, really scalable. You could do airports if you wanted with eco-friendly furniture. You know, that automated manufacturing was the key to us being able to do a regional production and control quality. We know we can provide files that bring it to within 5,000ths of an inch. We just have to check up and make sure people are putting right finish on. It's also easy to customize because it's all computerized. You do really effective planning. This was somebody wanted a certain amount of seating and space and tables, etc. And we were able to take like our standard kit of parts and say, look, we can give you custom pieces that are like, it's less than amount of pieces and save you like 40% on your total installation. You looked at LEED, because we're using the same type of systems thinking and environmental thinking, it matched up really well with LEED, so we can tell you which points you can get, or which points you can potentially get through using our product. No product individually gives you a point. So what happened? This was like 2.5 years ago. We created all of this stuff. We launched it. Well, I can tell you actually not a lot. Not a lot happened. We ended up with a product that was made for the planet, worked for the planet, but the planet wasn't a customer. The planet wasn't buying our furniture. We didn't actually spend a lot of time thinking about what do people really need? How do people interact with this furniture? What are the pain points for them right now? And that's where innovation happens. Like, the planet is the right way to look at it, because if you want to make a business sustainable over the long run, you can't just burn your resources. But what works for people? So we actually just launched a new collection based on a second innovation. We call this the Nugget connector. This is I like to think of it as a sustainable nugget, but essentially, I'm still working with that. Essentially, any piece of 3/4 inch material, this connector will snug together. And from that, we have the same sort of modularity and expandability. We can make all kinds of furniture systems for people, and that was what we found was people really needed something. They wanted to buy green, but they needed something they could afford. And they
Something
needed,
that's, I don't get the Mr. Filler one.
yeah, it is, right?
Design, style,
Right? He said if it doesn't look good when it's done, then the thinking wasn't right, but it's not the aesthetics that it's aesthetics how you know. He said something like that. It was genius.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really happy with what we have now, and now we're looking at moving this collection forward. And one thing that's really interesting, we're about to do a life cycle analysis